Well, things are going too well, it seems. The other night I was just listening to shortwave on this, and it was just picking up loads and loads of stations. So it was going really well when out of the blue, the darn cord here, which drives the condenser, tuning condenser, snapped. There didn't seem to be any tension on it unduly or anything like that. It just snapped. So I guess it must have been fatigued in some way. I'll get to know more when I take it out of there. But of course what this means is I got to take the wires back off and take all this back off, all the dial, and fix the cord for the tuning condenser. And yeah. Fun and games. On a slightly positive note, it would seem that this happened when this important lug here for holding the two wires is almost in the vertical position. So if I take as many photos and drawings and whatever before I dismantle, hopefully I can get it all back together without too much grief. So my plan right now is, it looks like that when the cord snapped, it didn't go back around the drum, but it did unravel down here. So, because my plan was count the number of turns on the shaft on each side. And then if I don't touch anything in terms of its position, just replicate that when I put the whole thing back, making sure I know where the vanes are on the condenser at this time. Well, we're down a hole and the hole's getting deeper. When I went to lift the cable off this little lug here, which had a little tag going off to the left, that little tag just snapped off. And so as it stands there, that's not going to hold the cable ends on as it goes around, because as it goes over, like top dead center here, the cable in this direction will just fly off. So that's going to be a problem. Yes, I'm going to dismantle this whole thing, take this off. Hopefully this drum will come off separately from the other one, because I can't quite see how this cord is fixed to the drum. It's fixed somewhere around here to the side, but can't quite see how. Oh dear. So it looks like this pulley is held on with two screws here and here. I don't think there's one underneath. I haven't seen one. So in terms of registration, I'm sure this is all going to be hypercritical, so I filed a tiny little nick in the top of the shaft here. That is my reference to go between where these two screws are. And hopefully that'll be sufficient to get me in the ballpark of having it in the right place when I put it back. With these two screws here at 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock. Update. I don't need to take the drums here off this shaft, because this shaft in turn is connected to a gear which drives here, and the whole thing pulls out. So I just have to hope that with these screws here in the 12 and 9, and my little nick on the shaft pointing up, we're going to be good. Yay, fun and games. Fun and games. Okay, learning as we go here. I thought this was two separate cords, one going in each direction, so to speak, but it turns out it's one cord, and it's just wrapped around that center shaft. So it seems like getting the length of this piece of cord correct is going to be critical. Well, I thought when you're this far down a hole, you may as well keep going. So I took the drum off the shaft here, because this lug here that's busted, I'm going to probably have to file that off, drill it, and put some sort of a probably a little screw with a head on it or something that I can glue in there. We'll see when the time comes. But this just highlights another crazy element of what I guess I'd call the Phillips design philosophy. So this shaft goes through the drum. I don't think it needs to be greased at all, but this end here needs to be heavily greased because it sits in the front bearing. Right about here is where the drive cord goes around to lock the drum to the tuning condenser, and that needs to be completely free of grease. And you can see there's no lips anywhere here that might isolate these different sections of the shaft. And then right here you get the gear, which drives the major gear on the tuning condenser, which also needs to be heavily greased. So guess what? You're going to get grease on the string. Okay, I think that's it for this session. So everything is cleaned and lubed, and well, not lubed yet, but cleaned. And so next up is going to be fixing this lug here. So this is the sort of thing I'll ponder over overnight at least, and see if I have some ideas. They're a little crude, but so maybe something better will occur to me overnight. And we get back to it. Please tell know all about how this thing goes together. The one thing I'm not quite too sure about how it works is I'm assuming the spring here acts as a tensioner to make sure the string remains under tension all the time. But of course what I have no idea is if this thing was sort of, let's say, pulled around at least one turn, when the string broke it would just immediately unravel. And so I have no idea if and how many times that thing was turned to make the cord grab onto the shafts. That's going to be trial and error, methinks, once I've made up a new string. Okay, design idiosyncrasy number whatever. This is the pulley for the wire that goes to the cursor eventually. Made of plastic. Not a problem. It's got a wired thing running in it, and yet plastic is just fine. This pulley right here is for the cord that drives the tuning condenser. And this one's made of metal, like brass. And the edges of this are like razor sharp. And so I can find no sort of flaw in the string itself here. So the only thing that I think might have happened is, I don't know, maybe if the string rode up on the side of this pulley here, it would just cut right through it, because as I said, it is razor sharp. Why these are not plastic or whatever, the same as these ones, I have no idea. And unfortunately these are all riveted, so it's not going to be really feasible to replace them. Anyway, yeah, it's that just struck me as really odd. Why would you do that? So, more to come.